Journalist Bob Phillips once said, "There are 3 stages of man. He believes in Santa Claus. He does not believe in Santa Claus. He is Santa Claus." Christmas movies are a time-honored tradition that goes back decades. Hollywood has been pumping these festive gems out for generations, tugging on our heartstrings, making us laugh, and nothing puts us in the Christmas spirit like a good holiday movie. This is the incredible true story of the Christmas movie that made history. Merry Christmas, everybody. Today we celebrate a Christmas tradition, talking about communist propaganda. Do we have your attention? Every year we curl up in front of our TVs with a big tub of popcorn and steaming mug of hot chocolate, sporting our favorite Santa hat to watch some of our favorite Christmas classics. But only one has been accused of being deep communist propaganda. Before we get into that, first we'd like to say, yes, Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Every time someone watches Hans Gruber fall off the Nakatomi Plaza, an angel gets his wings. Like Die Hard, the Home Alone franchise, and many others, holiday movies have become a key part of our Christmas experience. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special Lights, Camera, History. For this year's holiday season, we'll talk about the history-making movie that has become a beloved Christmas classic. It's gonna be a great video. It's jolly, it's merry, it's a wonderful life. We ask you to give us the gift of hitting that like button. The more people who do, the more YouTube promotes these videos. We thank you for the support. All right, let's jingle all the way. It's a Wonderful Life was released in 1946 and was produced and directed by Frank Capra. The movie stars James Stewart, the Tom Hanks of his day, as George Bailey. Donna Reed as Mary Hatch. Lionel Barrymore, Drew Barrymore's great-uncle, as Henry F. Potter. Thomas Mitchell as Uncle Bailey. Henry Travers as Clarence. Travers was born a decade and a half before the movie camera was invented. And Beulah Bondi as Mrs. Bailey. The movie follows George Bailey as he makes many key decisions throughout his life, often choosing the altruistic route and sticking up for the little guy. He was delayed over and over again from living out his dreams. He wanted to travel the world and get an education, but life kept throwing a wrench into his plans. His father's death and his brother's marriage preventing him from going to college. A run on the bank causing him to use his own money that was for his European honeymoon to help everyone get through it. Life was still good, though. He was married with kids, and his generosity to those who used his bank allowed many people to have homes instead of living in Mr. Potter's slums. That is until one day, $8,000 is stolen from him by the evil Mr. Potter's henchmen, making it seem like he misused his bank and loans money during an audit happening at the time. When it rains, it pours, am I right? The problems mount, and he's thinking about ending it all so his family will get his life insurance. And it's Christmas. As the angels discuss George, we see his life in flashbacks. George is about to jump from a bridge, but he ends up rescuing his guardian angel, Clarence, who jumps before he can. I'm not exactly sure about the logic behind this, saving someone from jumping off a bridge by making them jump off of it to save you, but somehow it works. Clarence tries to persuade George he's worth more alive than dead, but George isn't having any of it, wishing he was never born. That gives Clarence the idea to grant George's wish and show him how his town and the people he knew would have been if he wasn't around to help. And let's just say it's no picnic. Quaint Bedford Falls is now Pottersville, a sleazy town full of hard and bitter people. George's brother died when he was a boy by slipping through ice into a lake because George wasn't there to save him. The pharmacist he worked for as a boy went to jail for manslaughter because George wasn't there to stop him from giving poison instead of a prescription. His wife never married and is a lonely librarian, just to name a few changes. George begs Clarence to give him his life back, and he does. He runs home thrilled to see his beloved town back to normal, not caring at all that he's going to prison. He goes home to discover that his wife has rallied the town, who all pitched in without a moment's hesitation to raise more than enough money for the man who gave so much of himself to help others. Even the auditor and constable with a warrant for his arrest pitch in. The movie was released in 1946, and based on the budget of $5 million, the movie would not recoup its budget. Not enough people would see it yet for it to gain popularity. You know who did see it? The FBI.
In recognizing a communist, physical appearance counts for nothing. If he openly declares himself to be a communist, we take his word for it. If a person consistently reads and advocates the views expressed in a communist publication, he may be a communist. If a person supports organizations which reflect communist teachings, or organizations labeled communist by the Department of Justice, she may be a communist. If a person defends the activities of communist nations while consistently attacking the domestic and foreign policy of the United States, she may be a communist. If a person does all these things over a period of time, he must be a communist. But there are other communists who don't show their real faces, who work more silently.
The reason for the suspicion was based around the plot of the evil banker and the people rising up in a collective manner to beat the big bad businessman who was depriving the town of a fair living. Probably about the opposite of the way the FBI would react today.
Communist Party of the United States is a fifth column if there ever was one. It is far better organized than were the Nazis in occupied countries prior to their capitulation. They are seeking to weaken America just as they did in their era of obstruction when they were aligned with the Nazis. Their goal is the overthrow of our government. There is no doubt as to where a real communist loyalty rests. Their allegiance is to Russia, not the United States. Communism in reality is not a political party. It is a way of life, an evil and malignant way of life. It reveals a condition akin to disease that spreads like an epidemic. And like an epidemic, a quarantine is necessary to keep it from infecting this nation.
I had long thought that two of the writers on the film, Francis Goodrich and Albert Hackett, to be communist sympathizers. Goodrich and Hackett practically lived with known communists and were observed eating lunch daily with such communists as Lester Cole and Earl Robinson, both screenwriters. Two of them are identified in Section 1 of this memorandum as communists. One of the biggest believers that this movie was propaganda was Ayn Rand. Rand can probably be described as the Ben Shapiro of her day. Both are political pundits that continue to make headlines. Rand wrote a great book I recommend called Atlas Shrugged. Rand once said, "The purpose of the communists in Hollywood is not the production of political movies openly advocating communism. Their purpose is to corrupt non-political movies by introducing small, casual bits of propaganda into innocent stories and make people absorb the basic principles of collectivism by indirection and implication. Few people would take communism straight, but a constant stream of hints, lines, touches, and suggestions, battering the public from the screen, will act like drops of water that split a rock if continued long enough. That rock they're trying to split is Americanism." In testimony to the House Un-American Activities Committee hearings in October 1947, a screenwriter named John Charles Moffat testified to the defense of the movie. Moffat said, and I quote, "Well, to summarize, I think Mr. Capra's picture, though it had a banker as a villain, could not properly be called a communist picture. It showed that the power of money can be used oppressively, and it can be used benevolently. I think that the picture was unjustly accused of communism." The movie was likely influenced some, and I mean just a little, by communist ideology. However, there were plenty of cooks in the kitchen when it came to the script. The other interesting story surrounding this movie is the copyright issues. For years, the movie gained a new life on television since the networks could air it for free, since it ended up in the public domain after the copyright was not renewed. If you notice, I'm not playing any clips from it, because the movie is now owned by Paramount Pictures. While researching this, we learned that the studio is on a crusade to stop any and all use of the movie without their express written consent, to dispel the notion that this movie is in public domain, despite the urban legend it is. We love you, Paramount. Call us. We'd love to work with you. You guys have all the cool stuff. Indiana Jones, Top Gun, and the Terminator. We hope you enjoyed this. We want to leave you with this final thought. You know what's a great time-honored tradition, just like Christmas movies? Not trusting banks.
Then we'll reinvest the earnings into foreign currency accounts with compounding interest, and it's gone.
What do you mean? I have $100.
Not anymore, you don't. Poof.
Thanks for watching. I'm off to watch Die Hard. Honey, get the popcorn ready.
Keep the change, you filthy